Welcome to snowy Lake Placid, New York. Round 2 of the BMW IBSF Skeleton World Cup for women in blustery and snowy conditions. What a race we have on hand for you. Final 20 athletes getting ready to go at the top of the track in the warm and dry of the booth. Martin Haven and alongside me, US slider Greg West. And Greg, we had a brand new track record in the first heat, but we've got a real race in prospect here.
Yeah, we have an incredibly close race today. There are a lot of battles that they're going to come down to probably the 100th of a second, this second heat. If you look through the middle of the pack, you're saying Anna Fernstedt, that is your big surprise of the day. I don't think anybody really saw that coming, but her with a big 119 speed, the fastest speed of the first heat, put her in bronze medal contention. Big smile. And then you have Lizzie Arnold sitting in second, and not a huge surprise there in the snow. Put together a competitive start time, also big speed. And you know, Lizzie's the pro's pro. She just knows how to get down a track, any conditions. It doesn't really mess with her. She just executes the game plan and does it quite well. And then Janine Flock setting the track record in the snow, taking 2/10 off of it with a 54.84. To put that in perspective, that would have been a nice time for some of the guys yesterday in those frigid conditions.
So Janine Flock, our race leader, new track record. Lizzie Arnold in second place, a 10th behind. Then Anna Fernstedt, well, the medals, anything could happen really, given the weather that we've got. Anna Fernstedt third, Mimi Raneva of Canada fourth, Jacqueline Learning and Jane Channel just ahead of Lelda Predulena, a tie for ninth behind her between the two American girls. And look how close those little groupings are, bearing in mind that normally a second will cover pretty much the top 25 sleds. The weather conditions here have had a big effect to play. Yelena Nikitina, 20th and last in the first heat going into the second heat. Last of those who go through, 21st on down, do not get a second run. There's Annie O'Shea, winner on this track in January. Lizzie Arnold won the last 2 years that she was competing. She didn't compete here last season. She won one of the 2 races the year before. She won the year before that as well. So she's got previous on this track. But Janine Flock as well, she's been in the medals 2 of the last 3 years that she's raced here. And we were kind of thinking retrospectively, as we watched the snow increase further on down the runs, that maybe she had a really clean run. She didn't have a really clear track. She did have a really clean run. I mean, looking at it at the highlights again, she really, really got on top of that run.
Yeah, Janine, to go once again, to break a track record is always impressive, especially when you're on another country's home track. To break a track record in the snow is mind-blowing. Now, having that first start draw obviously helped her a lot, but snow or no snow, it didn't matter. That was a killer run she put together, and she's got that 10th of a second gap over Lizzie going in the second run. Anna is right there with them, and then another big surprise that I'm really happy to see is Mirella Raneva sitting in fourth and within a stone's throw of getting into the medals.
Now, what we're seeing at the top of the track is not one of our competitors. First to come out will be the pink helmet of Yelena Nikitina. We're seeing another spur sled going down. Now, you were forerunning yesterday in Europe. They're the spur sleds. And the deal there is to check that the conditions are acceptable, to check that the timing system is working. And so you have professional skeleton sliders, although professional in the not in the financial sense, but you know, top draw skeleton sliders. So you recognize the helmet. Who was that? Was that Meg Henry?
That was Meg Henry. So we have the US ICC team plus John Daly are your forerunners today, and nobody's a slouch in there. And I think what you're seeing is the race director Lori Bausch and Don Haas wanting to make sure that they have as fair of a competition at the start ramp as they possibly can. So let's send an extra forerunner or 2, and let's get it right.
So Tony Carlino at the top of the track in his black and yellow jacket, and he and his team have been working here. Well, they had luge here, and then 2 weeks of training and racing for the Skeleton and Bobsleigh World Cup, and these guys have been out, I was going to say dawn to dusk, but from night time to night time in all sorts of weathers. Great stat you got about yesterday's weather conditions.
Yeah, Nathan Crumpton posted on Twitter that there was in Lake Placid yesterday, it was actually colder than some places on Mars. Now today it's about 30 degrees warmer, but we have the blustery, snowy, windy conditions. So, I mean, pick your poison.
Yeah, you trust Nathan because he's a nerd. Yeah, you said that off air. Sorry, did that come out?
Oh no,
okay,
that's all right.
That's good. Okay,
I think
we're good on
he
that.
wears it as a badge of honor. But that was a really cool stat.
Well, and also, of course, he could verify that with the Nathan Crumpton thermometer up at the top of the track.
Yeah,
for kids that want to do temperature gooder.
Yeah, something like that.
That's just over on the right-hand side there, between the two jury officials on the hut. That's the official Nathan Crumpton thermometer. Well, here is Yelena Nikitina, and you saw that the track workers were sweeping the snow out of the grooves, and it's all just run straight back in.
Yeah, it's just it's an unfortunate situation. It's an outdoor sport, though. I mean, that's the conditions are supposed to play part of it. Once again, you hate it when they do. It's all right if it's playing in your favor, but when it's playing against you, it's just incredibly frustrating.
I remember Jeff Payne coming out with that quote in the 2009 Worlds, where for the skeleton race it turned from an ice track into an icy water flume of whitewater rafting. He said, hey, it's an outdoor sport, you get outdoor weather. Second heat gets underway here in Lake Placid with Russia's Yelena Nikitina, third fastest start at 5:29. How close does she get? 5:27. Track record is 5:19. Don't see that being broken unless something changes dramatically in the next hour.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. They just swept the grooves, and you could already tell they were already filling up with snow again. You saw Lena going through 1-2 once again. Got pulled into that snowdrift, pulled into the wall. I think that's going to be a common trend as we go through this second heat, because that snowdrift's just going to get bigger and bigger.
Martin Haven and Greg West watching the action here from Lake Placid. Greg was full running yesterday in the coldest ice conditions probably recorded on this track since it opened in 2000.
Yeah, it was hard and it was slick. Elena putting together a pretty decent run here. Double tapping chicane. She's got her head up. You can tell she doesn't trust it right now. She is not a big fan of this track. She's had a couple of mishaps here. I think she'll be happy to be heading home.
I think so. 55.96. That is her time. She takes the lead of the race, at least until the next athlete comes down. And unlike yesterday, not quite so Arctic. Yesterday it was around, skeleton race, what was it, around minus 19, 18 degrees Celsius. Now it's hovering around 10 degrees, 12 degrees warmer than that.
Yeah, Elena putting together a better run than her first heat, 4/10 faster. I don't know if it was from the run or the weather conditions, but you see her head and shoulders off the sled as she's taking those 2 taps in chicane. We're looking at her going through turn 19 right now. She had a little bit of a skid and a lot of height on the first run. She fixed it a little bit, and look at the sparks from the divot on the wall from all the sleds hitting it. That cold, brittle ice is just breaking away.
Big thanks also to the track workers, as you pointed out, Greg, during the gap between the heats. They carry all the sleds up to the top for the girls because these sleds aren't light, and a lot of the women are. Takako Gucci next up from Japan. 20th fastest start. She came down 19th place, just 0.03 of a second quicker than Elena Nikitina.
It's going to be interesting to see how the athletes choose between the left and the right groove. I typically like the left groove here. It's the popular groove, but it looks like that right groove might be setting up better. As we see, she pushed in the right, or excuse me, in the left groove and got pulled into the snow again. She handled it well, kept it off the wall, but that's a big drive in that 1-2 straight. Little skid going into turn 4, but the entrance was nice. Putting together a pretty good Devil's Highway. You hear the chin scraping on the ice through those high G corners.
So Alana Myers-Taylor there watching from trackside. She'll be racing in the 4-man race shortly with her husband Nick.
A little bit better speed for Takako this go around 111. She had a really clean, pretty run the first time, and it just didn't have the speed. It seems like that might still be the case. You can change the setup of the sled with the rock and the bow and the runner between heats, but you cannot change the runners. So if you guess wrong on the runners and go too sharp, which I believe she might have, there's nothing you can do. You can turn the rock up and just kind of hope, but that can lead to a wild ride. 56.18, so she's a little over 2/10 faster, while Lena was a little over 4/10 faster, and that's going to drop Takako back to 20. So Lena going to spend a little more time being cold in that leader's box, at least one more minute.
Yep, being snowed on. So not a bad start. 5:61 in the first heat, 5:57, just a little quicker from Takako Oguchi.
You can see the snow is starting to fall up top again, and look at the drive lines. When you see them white like that, you know there's snow, and you're not going to have you're going to have more friction pushing on the snow than you would on the ice, and that's leading to some of these slower start times for those that are not lucky enough to have the fresh sweep.
Australia's Jackie Narracott using her hand to clean the snow off the visor, and she's just stood in a fully covered start area. You were saying yesterday, Greg, forerunning, your visor actually froze and frosted over at corner 9.
Yeah, that was a special experience going down the hill. It's like the trust fall of sliding. You're just hoping that your experience and comes together and you don't crash it. That's the worst thing you can do, is crash the sled when you're forerunning, not only to delay the race, but just for professional embarrassment.
There's the Australian flag and the outline of her nation on the underside of the sled. Green and gold for Australia, for Jackie Narracott.
It's like Mike Rogel's American slider holding the sled for her, helping out all the small nations, you know, finding whoever you can to sled dog for you. And that's a big help. You don't have to worry about how your sled's going to get to the starting line, especially for the smaller nation athlete. It's just one less stressor on race day.
The moment the light changes to green, you have 30 seconds to cross the start beam. She took exactly 2 seconds to depart from the block. She was not waiting around to get cold. 5:58 start for Jackie, and she was 24 hundredths ahead of current leader Yelena Nikitina from the first run.
Same old story, got in that snowbank 1-2, pulled into the wall. She's handling it well, got a good entrance into turn 4, and that'll help her through the highway here. Then when I say the highway, the Devil's Highway on this track is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And while Whistler is known as the fastest track in the world, you can ask about anybody, and they will say that is the most abrupt section on any track in the world, because those corners come at you so fast. A lot of sliders refer to it as a washing machine as you're going through there.
Second place, just 600ths of a second behind Nikitina, so she's come from 3/10 back. Could be in the green numbers this time. She is.
Good speed for 72.5 miles an hour through the bottom of the track was a good speed for the first during the first heat. In that 55.77, she really pulled away, and that's what we talked about during the first heat. If you can carry the speed out of turn 10 on this track through the bottom portion, those 2 uphill sections, it's just going to stretch your advantage out, especially in the snow. It's even going to stretch it out even more, and that's what we just saw from Jackie. That's a good run. We're seeing her come through the exit of 7 right now. That's in the Devil's Highway. A kind of joke is when you're going through 7, especially how it's cut, you know you have a good run when you smack your face on the exit. If you don't smack your face, you probably don't. You're not pulling enough G's to
see, this is skeleton all over. If it doesn't hurt, it's not good. You see, you people are just weird. Jackie Narracott nearly half a second quicker. So I think this is going to be snakes and ladders, isn't it? You're either going to have a much better run or not, and lose a lot of ground as a result. What's Yulia Kanakina going to do? Turn 21 on Friday. And this former ballet dancer from Russia,
pushing in the right groove. It'll be interesting to see how that will put her into the 1-2 straight. 5-2-0.
Yeah. Wow.
100th off the start record, and it looks like that
in the snow.
In the snow. But it's a common trend. Those that are pushing in the right groove, it sets up the exit of turn 1 and keeps you out of the snow. It'll be interesting to see whether other athletes follow suit.
Look at the lead. She's got 65 hundredths of a second over Jackie Narracott.
I think she's going to pull away if she has a good shady here. That might be my first commentator jinx.
There you go, 55 hundredths back.
Down on speed, 108.4, so she's significantly down on speed compared to Jackie, and I think it's going to show here. That hit on the left side not going to help her cause. That's going to hurt.
Big and high.
Hold on.
All right, this is now panic control, damage control. Jackie Narracott will stay in the leader's box. Wow, that was 2 different runs there, wasn't it? Down to 10, Yulia Kanakina was great. Out of shady 2, it all got away from her.
That's what commentator jinx.
That's all right, she still likes you.
That was, yeah, tale of 2 runs. The top half of that looked really nice. She was down a little on speed, but it looks like the back end just broke out on her going into 17. So we see her hit left out of 14 going into the chicane. She goes in late. Now she went on the left side and she steered just a little too hard. And when that sled catches, you are at its, whatever it's going to do, it's going to do. You have no real control at that point on what your nose direction is. And if it takes you up into the roof, you are along for the ride.
And she knew that, and that's why her head was buried. She didn't bother looking up. It's just whatever happens, happens, and it's coming my way. Look at head right down. And actually, that might be the smiliest I've seen her come off the track all week.
You know, it's kind of funny. After a really bad run where you feel like you saw your life flash before your eyes, it's amazing. Even the time's not good, you can be in a really good mood because you're running up the outrun without being on a stretcher.
Laura Dees of Great Britain. Let's see where she gets to. 5:53 start first time.
5:26.
There you go. That's much more like the sort of start.
That she had a much cleaner groove. That left groove is pulling out of turn one into the wall, though. I really hope that some people pay attention to the broadcast and maybe switch over to the right. It's a little bit different feeling, but it's going to help your power. She's up by almost 6/10.
Yeah.
Going through the middle section of the track.
Let's see if she can stitch this together nicely. She was in the bronze medal position in the race here in January of this year. Different weather conditions, but same ice.
1:11.5 going out of turn 10. The lead's coming down 4,400. She was up by almost 6/10, but I think she's going to hold on here through the lower portion. She's got pretty good speed. Jackie Narcott, though, the 72.5 miles an hour was really, really quick considering conditions. I think Laura's going to be a lot happier with that one now.
Well, she started 4,400s ahead, finished 4,400s ahead. So a 55-45 slide. I think she builds on her first heat advantage over Jackie Narcott to take the lead. And this is where we get into a group of athletes where we had 8 sleds covered by 800ths of a second. So suddenly we're going to see this field blown apart.
Yeah, it could get real interesting for the next 8 or 9 sleds. We're watching her come through 12, a little bit of a kick out, but she handles it well. And this cost her a little bit going through chicane when you tap on that right side, but that a great way of handling it. She leaned back into the wall a little bit, which is kind of counterintuitive. You don't want to drive yourself into the wall, but if you lean back into it, you won't bounce all the way across. So that was a veteran move by Laura to absorb that hit and not let it turn into 2 or maybe 3 taps.
Laura Dees leads from Jackie Narcott and Yelena Nikitina. 5 sleds down, 15 to come here in Lake Placid, and this is Kimberly Boss. All her sponsors, friends, families, names written around the helmet. She said, yeah, they're starting to get rubbed off. I've got to do something about that. I think there might be some helmet painting coming up in the next few months for her.
I think American slider Mike Rogels is officially the small nation sled dog. He actually had a wardrobe change between Jackie Narcott and now Kim Boss. He was wearing Aussie colors. Now he's wearing not Dutch colors.
I think he's building his part up, isn't he?
But it's good to help out once again all these small nations that don't have all the coaches on the track with the cameras or to pick up the sled. So it's nice to see everybody chipping in. This is a really close-knit family.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows everybody. So
Kimberly Boss from the first heat, 100th of a second her advantage over current leader Laura Dees. So let's see which way this goes.
5:48 start time. She pushed 5:55 in the first heat. Handles the exit at turn 1 a little bit better. Doesn't get caught in the snow, and that'll help her cause in the top third of this track.
Kimberly does. It takes to the double
So Kimberly Boss outstarted by Laura Dees by a couple of tenths of a second. She's got to find that pace now down the track.
Kim a little bit abrupt through the 7-8 transition there. She's back by about 3/10, but that's a really good exit of Shady, and that's the fastest speed we've seen out of turn 10. If she can handle it through the bottom of this track, she's going to close the gap, and that's exactly what she's doing.
Comes down to 2/10 of a second, out from 3/10. Is there enough ice left to catch Laura Dees?
It's going to be close at the bottom.
She needs big speed to avoid the wall. She avoids the wall 1/1500ths of a second back. Not bad, considering Laura outstarted her by 2/10.
I think Kim's going to be pretty happy with that. All things being said, said she had a couple of rough runs this week, had a couple of really good runs this week, but to go faster in the second heat is always a good thing.
Kimberly Boss slips into second position in a really tight midfield pack. Big height on the exit here.
Yeah, a little bounce out of 12 there. My very first year that I was in the sport, John Montgomery was racing, and he flew out of 12, and we were on the truck joking, going up to the top, and he's like, if you're flying through the air, there's no friction. You just got to stick the landing.
Well, he had many theories. His greatest theory was that if you put a sack of potatoes that weighed the same as an athlete on the sled, it would get down faster because it wasn't fighting the sled.
Yeah, it wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
This will be interesting. Savannah is going to try to put down a big run here. This is her track. She was the track record holder up until about an hour ago, and if anybody can, make a big move, she's it.
5:64. Now that's 4,400 slower than current. Beg your pardon, 4,200 slower than current leader Laura Dees.
Savannah, even pushing in that left groove, handled that 1-2 transition very well. She stayed out of the snow. She's bringing some speed into the highway right now, and that is going to help her cause a lot. Smooth 6, 7, 8, really nice transition into Shady, and this is where she does her thing. A nice exit, good speed, 112 kilometers an hour. I think that's our second fastest speed we've seen, and she can turn that into if anybody can pull it back, she can. She's back by 4/10 with a nice run through chicane. I just don't know if she's got enough track left. Laura had one heck of a run.
This is only a 5th fastest run, 3rd at the line behind Kimberly Boss and Laura Dees, but again there was only 0.03 of a second separate him in the first heat. We saw some artificially large gaps at the top of the field, but some habitually really tight racing here at Lake Placid.
Yeah, that's tough. I feel bad for Savannah there. It always stinks to drop back 1, especially to drop back 2, but when you're in that tight of a pack, we're watching her come through 14, and I think it might have been luck of the draw a little bit on the sweep. You see all of the snow she's going through. Sometimes it's just, it's not your day. That was an incredibly good run. No glaring errors. She had good speed, and she just ran out of track, and the snow didn't help her cause.
Yellow vest of our World Cup points leader, Elizabeth Varche, at the top of the track. The Canadian girl won gold for the first time in over 12 months in Whistler 2 weeks ago. Lizzie is back, and unfortunate first run off a 5:46 start sees her down in 13th place.
5:39, that's a lot better start. There was still a little bit of snow in the grooves, but she's caught in the snow. She's biting it all the way down. In that section of the track, it's about, I think it's like 70 or 80 meters long, but it's almost completely flat. So if you're fighting through there, you're just costing yourself speed, and it's just unfortunate. It's either hit the wall and cost yourself speed, or steer and cost yourself speed. Either way, if you get caught in that snow, it's not going to end well.
And because your speed is so low, the momentum to overcome that friction is really low as well. It's like missing the first shift in a drag race. You're always going to be behind. Yeah.
Same speed as Savannah out of turn 10. Same line through chicane, a little bit better speed, the 118 speed, so she is carrying it a little bit better than Savannah.
Bringing it back to Laura Dees, 73.3 miles an hour. She shot the chicane out. Great run to the line. She takes the lead. 55.39.
That's a big run for Lizzie. And 55.3 would have been, 3/10 off the track record an hour ago, and she's doing that in the snow. So she's going to be pretty stoked about that. 6,600s
quicker than her first run. that's partly snow, but partly also she just didn't quite get her head around the first run down the track, I don't think.
Her start on this one helped her cause a lot. The first run, you could see all the snow coming out of the spur as she was pushing. You still see a little bit of it, but it's not as distinct as the first run. You can't go through the chicane any better than that. I mean, just right down the pipe, shoulders down, head down. I don't know whether she may have nicked the wall there at the end. Either way, it doesn't matter because the runners were pointed straight. You could see how much speed she carried because she made it all the way to the top.
I love you.
Jeff and Rita back home enjoyed the moment of celebration in Whistler a couple of weeks ago when Lizzie got her mojo back. She leads with 12 to go. First up now is Maria Oliver of Russia. 12 fastest after the first heat, 200s ahead of Elizabeth Varche, 200s behind Marina Gilardoni. And we say 200s like it's some notable difference. 200ths of a second.
It's funny, though, if you're on the winning end of 200ths of a second, you're like, oh, yeah, I got him covered, no problem. Then you're on the back end of it, you're like, oh, my gosh. And you think about it all night.
Yeah. I mean, even a tenth of a second to the layman, it's hard to imagine how little time 1/10 of a second is, and yet that's covering sort of 10 or 15 athletes in some places in this field. It's just insane.
I don't believe you can blink your eyes in a tenth of a second. I think Nathan Crumpton, if he's listening, is probably going to fact check me on that.
Well, the reaction, the official Olympic human reaction time is 7/100 of a second to the gunshot. So, you know, that's how fast this for your brain to recognize it takes 7/100. The gap between these athletes is 1 or 200.
Maria pushing 900s faster on the start. That is going to help her cause. The easiest way to go faster in this sport is to push faster.
Big engine, fast speed.
She's having a pretty good run here. A solid top third of the track. Seems to be carrying a little bit of speed through the upper portion. We'll see how that translates on the exit of turn 10.
3900s as she gets to Shady ahead of Laura Dees. Needs a good bottom half of the track now.
112.1, that's good speed out of Shady, but she hit the left wall. If you're watching in the first heat, you know that really hurts your speed a lot, and we're seeing it now. 115.9. We're going to watch that 3/10 disappear when she goes to the uphill portion of the track. The question is the track short enough for her to hold on?
Toe drag through the chicane and a little just costs her. She was 100th in front into corner 19, rather 700s in front, 700s behind at the line.
That tap out of turn 10 kills you. Especially she had good speed. We knew she had a good top because she had good speed on the exit, but when you hit the wall there, it just sets the line up a little more, a little rougher going through the labyrinth, and then B, kills your speed.
She's in the right-hand groove as well, same as the lane in Nikita was.
Yeah, I'm about convinced right now from watching the broadcast that right groove is going to set up better going 1 to 2. But that's a big change to switch from one spur to the other.
Merry Christmas to you too, Maria Oliver. She just falls shy by 700ths of taking the lead. Next up is our start monster, the start record holder here at 5:19, Marina Gilardoni. Back in 2006, it was 5:25 set by Katie Eulander. It's come down just 600ths in a decade.
5:22, that's a lot better start. She'll be very happy with that, but immediately pulled into the wall with the snow, and that's going to scrub off a lot of that nice start velocity that she had. Handling it well, though. Nice entrance into turn 4, and that sets her up nice for the highway, staying out of the snow between 5 and 6, and that's just going to help her some more.
Lots of speed, lots of mass. Former junior world champion, bobsled brakewoman, double junior world champion. In fact, 4/10 up.
Good exit of Shady. 111.3, though, a little bit down. It looked like the sled may have broken away from her just a little bit, and those little micro skids are really frustrating. She's up by 2/10, but with that tap and down at 115 speed, I don't know if she's going to be able to hold on. Lizzie had one heck of a good bottom.
It's looking ugly down at the bottom here for Marina. She's in the red, won't come back from there no matter how clean she is at the bottom. And wow, she went from 38 up to 3700s behind. Lizzie Varche will use the Canadian flag to keep her warm. And Marina Gilardoni slips 5 spots. Well, don't forget, she was 11th. In 16th, Laura Dees was only 700ths of a second slower. So we said there was going to be some big changes.
We're seeing her come out of 14 and taking that tap on the right side and it bringing her all the way back across into so a late entrance to 17, and that's what causes this abrupt transition. You see it actually picks her hip off the sled going into 18. Anytime that happens, that's energy lost. We're trying to conserve energy getting down the hill.
She was only 100 of a second slower than track record holder Savannah Graybill, and they lie 6th and 5th at the moment, with Elizabeth Varche leading. Top 10 to go in our second deciding heat, race 2 of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. Tina Hermann almost looked like she was ready to walk away from the track after the first heat. Doesn't like Lake Placid, and her first run didn't change her mind much, Greg West.
Yeah, she was having a little bit of a rough week. 5:49, but pulled into the wall. And that right groove, and then a flop out of turn 2 is not going to help her cause a whole lot. We'll see how she handles it, but she's already scrubbed a lot of speed with those seemingly minuscule mistakes, but you're already seeing red numbers, and that's from those tiny mistakes in the flat portion of the track.
only got 20 miles an hour on hand and you scrape down the wall, it's going to affect you a lot more than if you hit it at 70 miles an hour.
That's exactly right. 111.5 speed, it's pretty decent. We've seen the best slider so far, I believe, is 112.5. Down almost a tenth of a second, but good speed through chicane. She found something in the middle portion of the track. 117.6. Second fastest speed.
Could be challenging for the lead here. She was only 900s behind and she stays 900s behind. Didn't find quite enough. Elizabeth Archer climbs another spot up the ladder. Tina Hermann slips 2 places back to 3rd with 9 to go.
Yeah, that's the thing with the tight pairings we had. I mean, how many ties did we have after the first heat? And I don't know if you know, if you're new to skeleton, these are people that are tied to the 100th of a second, 0.01 of a second. You can see Tina obviously very frustrated. I'm sure she's ready to hop on an airplane and get home.
Well, if we didn't measure to the 100th, we'd have had 8 tied from Tina Hermann on down to 18th place.
We just watch her get stuck in that snow between 1 and 2 and then have that flop out of turn 2, and that is a lot of energy and speed lost. No matter what you do after that, you can't get the speed back. There's no motor on the sled. You have what you have. It's very few places you gain speed going down a track. It's really just stopping the bleeding.
Great looking helmet for the USA's Kendall Wessenberg. 2400's her advantage over Elizabeth Archer, our current leader. Archer, the Canadian, was in 13th place, joint 13th with Savannah Grable. There is your leader, and she is loving life at the moment. Maybe not quite so much after the first heat, but I think she's found a good run in the second one. And with how tight the field was, Greg West, it was always going to be that somebody was going to find the ladder while a whole bunch of others found the snakes.
That's exactly right. It'll be real interesting here with Kendall and Annie, are both the American sliders that are left are tied. So watching them go back to back in these conditions will be an interesting couple of runs.
She too starts in the left-hand start groove, which is more common when you're a righty. You push with your left hand, and so you want the sled on the left, and you don't want to be too close to the wall on your right.
She really did a good job on the exit of turn 1, though. Had a nice counter and avoided the snow. A little bit of toe action up top and a spark out of turn 3. There's basically no ice left on that wall. But she's up by almost 2/10, and she's going through the highway. She knows this track. If she can pull it back here, she might be able to chase down Lizzie. Pulling away to almost 3/10 on a good exit of Shady, 111.9. A little bit of leg action through 12, but nothing where it's going to turn the runner. She's down only a 2/10 lead. A lot of snow, though.
Now behind on this run, she was 2400s up after the first heat. With the way the head chatters as well, such a bumpy track. In the red numbers and at the line, 3/10 back from 2800s up. So again, all came unstitched below Shady.
And once again, this is a snow race. A 55.93 on a good day is a fast run. These girls are absolutely putting together good runs, but Lizzie just put together, you know, a better one so far. Kendall had a great top. She had a really good exit to Shady. I think what really hurts her, though, if we see the pictures from chicane, is it was a snowstorm that she just went through, and sometimes that's just the luck of the draw. She did tap a little bit, and here we're seeing her going through chicane. Look at all the snow. I mean, there's just nothing you can do. I mean, that might even be a little bit of a headwind she's going through. I mean,
yep, swirling around her, and Kendall Wessenberg drops down the order to 6th position now with 8 to go. Teammate Annie O'Shea was tied, inseparable to the 100th of a second. Annie won here in January. Can she somehow get in amongst the medals?
5:32. That's a good start for Annie, especially in the conditions. We'll see how she handles the snow, and you saw she threw that counter steer in immediately out of turn 1 to avoid it. That's just a veteran move. She's got probably close to 1,000 runs down this track. She knows how to handle it.
6/10 out of the medals in the first heat. Normally you'd say not a snowball's hope of getting in. However, today it's all up for grabs. She's 6/10 clear of Elizabeth Archer at the moment.
Pulling away 111.6 speed, though not quite as fast. But Annie knows how to get through the bottom third of this track. She's still up by a half second. Good speed going through chicane. She navigates it without touching the wall, and I think you're going to see Annie move up into that #1 spot.
Half a second clear at the moment. And at the line, she'll still be in the green numbers. The margin is 24 hundredths. So that's exactly what she had in the first heat. A 55.39 slide, exactly the same as Elizabeth Vache in the second run. So her first round advantage puts her into the lead and drops the Canadian to second place with 7 to go. Listen, if you're Elizabeth Vache, 13th after the first heat, you'll take a top 9, won't you?
Yeah, anytime you move up 1 spot, it's a great day. If you move up 4, it's magnificent. We're watching Annie avoid the snow 1 to 2. That helped her a lot. And then going through chicane, she had a little skid there, but for the most part, points it straight, and that's all you can do in the snow. It's more important to keep the runners pointed straight than anything.
So Annie O'Shea, new season, new hair, and she is in the leader's box with 7 to go. 400ths of a second faster than last season's winner was Lelda Predjelena. And again, 400ths of a second is a barely recognizable time difference. I always think any time less than a tenth, basically it's just a dead heat.
Yeah, 5:38 for Lelda. That's a really good start time. Once again, you're pushing in snow. She avoids the snowbank 1 and 2, and all it does is put you in the best position to be successful for the rest of the run. If you hit that snowbank, you might as well get off the sled. You're pretty much done.
She laid down her first heat advantage and vanished. Annie O'Shea started a little quicker than the Latvian girl. Still in red numbers, but it's only a fraction, just 700ths of a second. So effectively, this is a dead heat at the moment for the lead.
But she's down on speed, only 110.8 speed going through the middle section of the track. She's down by 1400ths, but I think you're going to see that lead. Annie's lead is actually going to grow to the bottom of the track. Might be 3/10, closer to 4/10 by the time she crosses the line.
Good chicane for Lelda Predjelena, 1400ths out, and just a brush with all 1900ths of a second.
Or I could be wrong. That happens too.
Well, do you know what? I sit here and I go, well, which way is this going to go? And it's always gratifying to see the athlete in the leader's box similarly go, oh, how did that happen? Because this is so hard to see where sometimes the time goes or where it doesn't go.
Yeah, I mean, usually with that speed differential, you'd see that grow, but she must have a really good exit of 14. There is some speed to be found there.
Is there a better shot for showing what the athlete does than this one?
No.
I love this so much.
You can almost see the vortex off the helmets as they're going through. You can see the snow.
And look at the runners. You can barely even see anything other than the straight view of the front of the runners. That was a great run through the chicane. And how much they bounce.
Yeah, what a lot of people, it's hard to see when you're looking at the chicane, but it actually falls away about 2/3 of the way down. All of a sudden, you were going uphill, now you're going downhill. So you don't even have the normal 1 G-force of gravity pushing down on the runner. It's very easy for the sled just to get away from you in that last, 80, 100 feet.
Annie O'Shea of the USA has the lead from Latvia's Lelda Predjelena and Elizabeth Vache. This is not some weird dragon dance by Jane Channel of Canada. You saw her there simulating the bumps as she's thinking her way down the track. That's how she's planning to move her body to steer the sled. I always say head, shoulders, knees and toes. That's what you use. You use your mass and kind of writhe around to get the sled going the right way.
Whatever you need to do to turn the sled is what you can do. It's kind of funny. You look at video of yourself sometimes and you're like, I don't remember doing that. So.
Yeah. Well, again, it has to be instinct, doesn't it? If you have to think about it, you're already behind.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see what Jane Channel can produce. Fastest start in the first heat, 5:23. Track record at the start, 5:19. How close will she get? We've seen that she could be very close indeed, and it's a pretty clear groove. 5:23.
That's a great start for Jane. That's going to put her in a position to be successful. She mostly avoids the snow, and that's going to set her top up really nicely.
So 5:20 from Julia Kanakina in the second start. I thought we might get a new start record. Maybe we still will.
Jane put together a pretty good run here. She had a small little skid. You could hear, you couldn't really see, but you can hear when the sled breaks away a little bit. When she was going into turn 4, seems to have handled it nicely, but she's down a little on speed. A 109.1 is going to really make it difficult in the bottom half of this track to move up. She's already back by a quarter of a second.
Busy toes. You can see there, constant adjustment of the line through the chicane. And all of the noise you can hear, that's the toes and the chin piece of the helmet scraping on the ice.
Yeah, going uphill through turn 19, you're pulling probably 4 to 5 Gs. It's really hard for anybody to keep your head off the ice.
11th fastest, 13th fastest run. Jane Channel drops 11 spots.
I don't think we would see that normally. I think you're seeing the snow.
You'd have to crash.
Yeah, I mean, Jane had a good run. There was no major glaring mistakes to drop that many spots. And, you know, whenever it's a snow race, sometimes you just have to throw your hands up. We're seeing the little drift there going into turn 4, the toes in the ice.
And again here.
Yeah, and these are little mistakes. I mean, you can have a fast run with a little tap and chicane. But with adding that with the snow conditions and being a little offline, it's just going to multiply.
Now, you could hear her toes all the way down, that constant scratching noise. Did she go, did she change the rock too much?
That could be it. There's a lot of variables, you know, in the snow. There's a lot of different schools of thought. Maybe she just said, you know, heck with it and went for it. But it's really hard to tell.
5 to go. Jacqueline Lurling in the top 5 here in Lake Placid. Can she shoot for the medals? 55.60 first run left her 4/10 out of a medal.
She pushed 400 faster this run. She avoided the snow. She's a long athlete. She has a lot of mass to get down this track. That should help her in these conditions.
What that was all about.
She's got a good 3-4 section that sets her up nicely for the highway. And this is what's going to build her speed going into turn 10. This track is all about just letting yourself build speed all the way down.
Gap is coming back from 2900s out. How much has she got left?
112.4 speed. I think that might be the fastest or second fastest speed we've seen. She's only back by a 10th. If she can navigate chicane, she's got a chance. 118.4 is real big. That's the fastest speed we've seen. But she had that hit on the left. She's in green numbers, though. Looks like she's going to take it from Annie at the line.
Little toe steer to the line, but 55.37 run. And that would have left her 200 inside 4th place in the first heat. So that's a really big improvement. That's the fastest run we've seen in the second heat. Annie O'Shea did a 55.39, so did Elizabeth Vache. And you know what? It's days like this, especially where I still say we shouldn't have an aggregate race. First heat should just be for deciding the starting lineup, and then one heat wonder.
That would make for some high drama and some interesting viewing for sure.
Yeah.
And Jacqueline's going to be really happy with that. You can see the smile on her face and the big high five from her coach at the end. Pretty decent run through chicane. That little brush on the left actually might have set her up nicer for turn 17, but that she had the biggest speed at 73.6 miles an hour through the chicane. Last hope of a North American on the podium is with rookie Mirella Raneva. Mimi had a really good first run. 4th fastest start at 5.30. 5.26. You know, Mimi is known as a big starter. She handled it well. Oh, that was a great move on the exit of turn 1. She didn't have to drag the toe. She just tapped it at just the right time, avoids the snow, and that is setting her up very nicely through the upper portion of this track. She's up by almost 9/10 of a second. That's a big lead. Wow. Mirella Raneva, this might be a real coming out party for her. Still 8/10 in front of Annie O'Shea, but all of her attention will be on the last 3 sliders to see whether the Canadian girl can take a medal here. Still 6/10 up. 6/10 up, but she is down on speed, almost 3 kilometers an hour slower than Lulling, going through the chicane. We'll see if she can hold on through turn 19. Still green numbers. And at the line, got her. Wow, snuck it in. Hundredths of a second. Mimi Raneva has showed up. You have arrived. That's a great finish for her. That's got to be great for her confidence to know that you have a top 4 finish in the bag, and she may move up.
She may move up. Now, she will not want to go to a single heat final run.
No, she's good with this.
Because she did a 53 compared to the 37.
That toe tap out of turn 1 might have been a run changer.
Yep.
If she didn't have that much friction, she got to set the line. A good little line through chicane here. She might have had a little brush on the left wall as she came out, but that's a nice entrance into 17. It looks like they may have swept too.
Thanks for watching. Thanks to all these guys.
She's stoked. Good for her. Good for Mimi.
And it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that she may end up on the podium. As you say, we've seen a lot fall here in the second heat. 3 to go. Well, we're going to get a rookie taking a medal here, whether it's our current leader, Mirella Reniva, or this young lady, 19-year-old German rookie, Anna Fernstedt. If she's feeling any nerves, she's not showing them yet. Lizzie Arnold and Janine Flock will be the final 2 women on ice. Worlds of experience separate them from Fernstedt and Reniva.
No, I think Anna and Mimi both were the surprises of the first heat to be that high. Anna was sneaking up on it throughout training. She always had pretty good speed, and it'll be real interesting to see how she handles this position. Being a top 3 in position to medal on the World Cup circuit as the 3rd-ranked German. To be up top, that's a big day for her. We'll see how she handles it. Think Mimi's happy?
Yeah. She borrowed the flag from Elizabeth Vache to represent for a medal in her 2nd ever World Cup start. Anna Fernstedt of Germany, the teenage sensation of the first heat.
A lot of snow in the groove. You saw it coming out as she pushed 572.
Well, now, Mimi Reniva, who leads, started 5:26. That's a lifetime of difference between them.
And Anna got caught in the snow. So it'll be interesting to see how much it comes back here. She's already down to 5,900s.
Moment on the splits, she's in 3rd place behind teammate Jacqueline Lurling and leader Reniva.
Bringing it back, though. Good exit of Shady, but she clipped the left wall. So 112.5, one of our better speeds through there, but that wall hit will not help her cause. She's pulling it back, 4/10 back, 117.5. I think that's the 2nd or 3rd fastest speed we've seen through there.
And look at the form through the lower corners, exactly what you want, that bullet shape. How close will she be at the line? She's not going to lead.
Mimi!
400ths of a second. Mimi Reniva is in the medals.
On the podium, that is huge. Anna falls back to 4th, but that being said, she finishes in 4th place at worst.
At worst.
What a day for her on a track that she doesn't have a lot of experience on.
Absolutely right. What a day for Anna Fernstedt, just 19 years old. And you know how good she is if she's not, not even into 20s, and she's in the German A team.
Yeah, Anna had a really good run. I think what really cost her was that start, the 5.70 in the snow, and then getting caught in the snow between 1 and 2. The veteran move by Mimi to quickly drop that left toe and stay out of the snow between 1 and 2 was the separator in this case.
2 to go. Lizzie Arnold, the Olympic champion, won on this track in the last 2 seasons where she competed at Lake Placid, and she starts with a 5:32 getaway to board with a 4/10 advantage over Mirella Reniva.
Pushing 500s faster, but she went all the way down the straight, 1 and 2 in the snow, and ended up with a tap that's not going to help her cause a whole lot. But Lizzie's the pro's pro. She knows how to get down this track. Nothing's going to rattle her.
She's only got a 1/3 of her advantage left. 1300s could be down to parity. 1100s now she can start to come back.
Hit on the left side. She's got good speed, but that tap's going to hurt her. Mirella may have a chance here. We're still in green numbers, but it's fallen to 1900ths of a second.
Well, Lizzie will be challenging to try and take gold from Janine Flock, but a huge skid all the way through the chicane won't help.
All the snow flying up. You know there's a lot of friction.
And at the line, 3400s in front with a 55.64 run, but that is 7/10 of a second slower than she managed in her first heat.
She found the warp zone in turn 17. She actually pulled away after the skid.
You don't know that shortcut?
I need to talk to her. You know, it's something Eric, I think, knows, just hasn't really shared.
The Eric Bonotis wormhole. She's rubbing her left shoulder from a hit, but big smile on her face.
We're seeing her going through chicane here. Big skid. You see all the snow coming off the runners and a big hit on the left side, but it sets her up nicely for turn 17. Maybe because she had that left to right cross up into the corner, she didn't have to steer as hard. That might allow her to save the speed.
Black and blue shoulder for the morning. Our final slider, our new track record holder, Janine Flock of Austria. Now, can she rock this out to take the second win of the season?
It's been about 2 hours since she slid. She was the first sled off the hill, and she's the last sled off the hill.
Elizabeth Vache won in Whistler. Can Janine Flock now win in Lake Placid?
She's pushing the right groove, 5.40, so that's 600s faster. Can't tell whether she got caught in the snow. We'll see on the exit of turn 2. It looks pretty clean. A little nick on the wall, though. You heard that.
She was a tenth ahead
Again,
of
like I said
Elizabeth
before, the
Yarnold
current
from the
track
first
record
heat.
is
She is
really
900ths of a second up. So this is a dead heat race right now.
Pretty good run through the Devil's Highway. Nice crossover. A little abrupt into turn 9. Down to up to 1700s, I should say. Sorry. 1:13.4. She's about to pull away.
Oh, Scorpion on the exit.
She kept the runners pointed straight, though, up by 3,500. Big speed through the chicane. Last sled off the hill has the fastest speed, 73.7 miles an hour. And your winner is going to be Janine Flock going away.
Going away to win by 0.8 of a second from Lizzie Arnold. A 54.93. Janine Flock has posted the fastest and second fastest trip down the track. That is mighty impressive.
That's a big run. She broke the track record twice in one day. Anything in the 54s is amazing. The fact that she did it in the snow is just incredible.
What a day for Janine Flock of Austria. Wow, I thought that was going to be down to 800ths or less. 0.8 of a second, you are kidding me. Wow.
Now that comes from she's been probably the most consistent slider all week. She had turn 10 dialed, and that, like I said, that's the throttle on this track. If you can get out of turn 10 with speed, it's only going to help you at the bottom of the hill, and that's what we saw. She has the biggest speed out of turn 10. That turns into the biggest speed at the bottom of the track, and speed kills.
Silver 3 years ago, bronze 2 seasons ago. Last season in January, she was out of the podium, out of the medals, and today she takes gold in the second race of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. So just to complete the podium, Janine Flock victorious, Lizzie Arnold takes the silver medal, and the girl you just saw hugging her, Marina Reniva of Canada, takes the bronze. So Mimi is going to have to learn a whole bunch of new things: where you go, what you do, where the TV cameras are when you're on the podium in the World Cup.
This is a coming out party for Mimi. I think that's your surprise. She doesn't really, like you said, I don't think she really knows what to do.
Not yet, not yet. Janine Flock of Austria shattered the track record in the first heat and won by 0.8 of a second in the second heat. It just didn't snow on her parade. It snowed on everybody else's. Janine, what a performance.
Incredible runs. I mean, she just was dominant all week during training and then put it together on race day. And if you can, be that confident coming into the race, knowing you've got the speed in the bag, there's just a lot less stress.
Wow, look at Anna Fernstedt, 400ths out of the medals. Jacqueline Learning, 100th behind her, 500ths out of the medals. This was a really tight race. Lots of snakes, lots of ladders. Last year's winner, Annie O'Shea, ending up in 6th position. And some slightly disappointing runs. Kendall Westenberg, Savannah Grable will both wish that they'd had a little better run on home ice. But a remarkable performance, pair of slides from Janine Flock. Lizzie Arnold taking silver, and Mimi Reniva. Welcome to the World Cup podium. Flags of nations were hanging still in the bitterly cold temperatures yesterday. Today, blown around by this blustery, snowy front that is coming through the Adirondack Mountains, but none of which seem to have even the remotest effect. And you talked about how she's been, on top in training throughout. Conditions have been utterly different every day, pretty much.
But that's where experience comes in. The Austrians start when they're so young. She has a bazillion trips down any hill, and she just knows how to handle it. You know, Mickey Grunberger, her coach, you know, also, you know, one of the old timers club guys. He knows how to set the sled up and, you know, give whatever advice is necessary for her to execute the game plan. And I think that's what we saw today.
Yeah, really remarkable. You know, and when it is snowy, we talked about this, the lighter athletes, the petite athletes are always going to struggle more, because the bigger the truck is, the less the that's why snowplows are big heavy things.
Yes,
right?
That's exactly
you know,
right.
and the taller you are, the more body mass you're going to carry, and you're going to be a better snowplow, a better icebreaker.
That's exactly right, but it also helps when you have, you know, some of the best lines of the weekend on top of it, and I think that's what we saw today. Going away by 81 hundredths, you know, that's Martins Duker's-esque from a couple of years ago when he was so dominant. Absolutely impressive from Janine.
Yeah, absolutely. To be that far ahead of the Olympic champion. I mean, Lizzie Arnold's had 2 wins here in the last 2 seasons when she raced, so it's not like she's not got this track. She gets it. It's just a remarkable performance. Great stuff too from the track workers as ever. Tony Carlino and the guys doing their level best to try and make this as fair a race as possible, and despite the fact that a few came up and a few dropped down, I think actually they did a pretty stand-up job. Lizzie Arnold of Great Britain is our World Cup points leader. From Germany's Jacqueline Lerling and Elizabeth Vache. 1 point behind her, though, is her rookie teammate Mirella Reniva, who posted her first World Cup podium today. And Janine Flock, with victory here in Lake Placid, moves up to 5th position. Last year's World Cup points leader, Tina Hermann, struggling here to 10th place. She was on the podium in the bronze medal position in Whistler, but she, like everybody else, heads home now for the Christmas break. And when they get to Europe, things will change. But Janine Flock busting out a stunning pair of drives here, Greg West, to just leave the rest of the field slightly open-mouthed.
Yeah, I mean, once again, she had the best setup all week. She had the best line. She's a long athlete with mass on top of it in a snow race. I mean, that's the perfect storm to pull away from the field, and that's what she just did. She also posted some pretty impressive start times. Pushing in the 540s with a snow in the groove is not a slouch. I mean, we have some of our start monsters that might put it down in the 20s, but a competitive start time doesn't hurt her cause.
Well, there is your podium. Who's the happiest of the lot? I don't know. That's pretty much a dead heat there. Lizzie Arnold very happy to be backsliding. Janine Flock, her first win of the season. And Mimi, I'm not sure she's feeling it yet. I think maybe later on this evening it will all start to become a little more real. Her first World Cup podium as she heads home for Christmas with a big smile on her face. Well, that is it for 2016's racing in women's skeleton. We rejoin again first week of January in Altenburg. My thanks to Greg West, again to the FIBT TV guys for doing a stunning job in these awful conditions. I'm Martin Haven. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time out. Bye for now.